Hey everyone, and welcome to the first episode of Not Your Average Critic with your host, Michael Newman.
My name is Mateo Mantilla.
And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about Ratched, a new Netflix show created by Evan Romansky and developed by Ryan Murphy, the mastermind behind all the American Horror Story television series. Ratched is the prequel to the infamous One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, focusing on the life of the antagonist Mildred Ratched. We're going to be diving deep into talking about set design, special effects, dramaturgy, actors, scripts, and everything episode 1 pilot. So be warned, this will contain spoilers, so let's not waste any time and hop right into Ratched.
Nah, man, absolutely. So first of all, I want to say I'm really happy that we're part of this brand new podcast we're doing. I think it's really cool that we're diving deep into film, documentaries, and all other types of amazing film, which within this incredible artwork space. Super really cool. So glad to be here, Michael.
Yes, thank you. Glad to be here with you too.
All right, awesome.
Especially starting out with Ratched. It's a very interesting film.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't know about the series really until you told me, and I really didn't know what to expect going in. I knew it was by the genre that it was a like a thriller, that type of thriller, type of story, but I didn't really expect, it kind of just like first of all, everything just kind of jumps at you from what happens, and I kind of went deep into the first 7 minutes of this series. So first of all, it already opens up in like a very like weird type of like location. So it's kind of like this mansion or this house where like all these priests are staying at. And usually, I guess when you think about priests, you kind of think about like innocent or like helpful, or I guess depending on what your outlook of it is, you definitely don't think about bad things happening.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then like out of nowhere, it's like, all right, they're all going to a movie. The one guy, what's the first priest's name? Do you recall?
I'm not sure, but it was the priest who was visiting from Nigeria. He was like just there for the week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, then there's like some other ones, like a head Monsignor in there. So one of the priests, they asked him to go to a movie. He's like, oh no, I think I'm sick and all that. I think I'm gonna stay. But in reality, like we see him whip out like Vaseline, like a Playboy magazine. Yeah, and clearly he's he's masturbating, and like, which is like, that grabs your attention right away because it's kind of like, damn, like those two things don't go together. Like kind of like a priest and Playboy and Vaseline. Like you never, it's like you never think of those things like that happening and stuff like that. I think it kind of like sets the tone really well for the rest of the show, which is like a whole bunch of spoilers and all, which a whole bunch of crazy moments and everything, which is nuts.
That's literally the first 4 minutes in, and like that's what makes it incredible, is because it starts out so innocent with just like a church sermon and stuff like that, and then he's leaving in the rain, and as you see him leaving in the rain, you see some guy just like kind of standing there, so it kind of gives you a creepy vibe at first, but then when it takes you to the house and they're all just kind of chilling, you don't really think anything of it until there is the knock at the door, and then it revealed that it is the guy who was standing there in front of the church under the rain.
Yeah, exactly.
That was like creepy. So now you're kind of like, oh no, it's like bringing this character back from before.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
I think that throughout that whole portion of when the priests are in the house and stuff like that, the lightning and the thunder and the rain and everything was so, obviously it's not real. Like they weren't filming during a thunderstorm, but to make it seem so real with the pattering of the rain on the windows and the flashing of lightning in every single window, if you ever heard it, and all the thunder and stuff at like perfectly timed moments, but it didn't seem unnatural, but it seemed like it was supposed to be put there and very ominous. And I thought that it really played into like making it suspenseful and really makes you foreshadow what's going to happen next.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I think one scene that I want to bring up that you kind of like touched on was like with the thunder and lightning. So right when the what's his name? What's the killer's name? Well, he ends up being a killer. What's his name again? Edmund. Yeah, back when Edmund, like when he gets inside the house, there's a scene where you see like a close up of his face. You kind of see like the demented and kind of like creepy, like kind of like serial killer like look on his face, and then the lightning like it strikes right like in the background, which which I think it kind of does it. I'm sorry, does like the president for exactly what's gonna happen. So I think already I knew he was gonna kill one of the priests as soon as he looks at the knife. And I think that type of close up at objects for the rest of the episode are very important, because like he looks at the knife, and I guess like the priest, I don't know, being oblivious or just I don't know, says, "Oh, do you want to eat that?" He said, "No, I think I'll save it for later." And right then and there, I was like, "Yeah, he's gonna kill him," because that's just I don't know.
Exactly. And especially like that's another thing that this show does a lot of. It's like it lets the audience foreshadow what's gonna happen next by showing objects or showing certain characters interact, and you're like, "Oh, where's that storyline gonna go next, or what's gonna happen next?" And I like about with the first kill with the priest is you don't see it happen. Like it just cuts into the other priests coming back from the movie, and then they're all kind of getting ready to go to bed and just kind of dressing down, getting in their robes and everything, praying, and then it isn't revealed until later when the Nigerian priest who was just visiting goes into the bathroom and is just in the bathroom, and all of a sudden the music gets completely quiet. It becomes super quiet. The only thing the audience is focusing on and anything else is just the priest in the mirror, and then all of a sudden you just hear like drip drops from like the faucet in the bathtub.
Yeah, that's to me was the creepiest part. Like that was a very like anxious building type of scene, because you already know that the first priest is dead.
You know what happened.
Yeah, you don't need to see a scene of it. You already know what happened.
Mm-hmm.
You already, for some reason you don't know what happened. And before that scene too, I don't know if you noticed or not, but like not the Nigerian priest, but one of the other ones, he goes into the dining room table because he's gonna get coffee for everybody, and he sees that the plate is still there, but the knife isn't there. The steak knife was originally there before, and you see a close up of it, but then the second shot of it, it's not there no more. So now you gotta wonder, damn, like where's the knife at? So that's another hint that hey, like this guy was was killed in there. My only question was okay, like obviously it's pretty evident that the guy killed the first priest. I was thinking, okay, one, why did he kill him? Second of all, is he still in the house, or did he leave, or are they gonna find him dead, or what was the whole like thing with that? That was the only like anxious building moment up until that point. And again, like you said, it's in the first 5 minutes of the whole series, so already you're asking 1,000 questions. Who are these priests? Why are they important? Who's this other guy? Clearly his car didn't break down. Like there's just so much going on at the time.
Back to that, the knocking on the door when he's like, "Oh, my car broke down. Can I use your phone?" Like the most.
That's the worst.
One in a book. It's like really.
Yeah, but I mean, I guess for us, because we were born in I guess like in the 90s and all that, like we take it for granted, because obviously nobody nowadays is gonna knock on our windows and say, "Oh, can I use your phone?" No, I'm like, no, like use your cell phone or something. But like I guess back then, I don't know. I guess it was more customary. To do that, and plus him being a priest, imagine if you would have said no. How would that work? Yeah, exactly. Like he just slammed the door in his face. But then it sucks.
So back to the Nigerian guy, when he goes to react to the drip drop, it's quiet. As soon as he moves that shower curtain, the music blares, the violins go, the trumpets, everything.
You see his throat, the other guy's throat slit and everything. You see you see the killer on the other side.
Yeah, and then when the camera shows back to the priest, he's like in complete shock. The door just slowly turning back, and like the Edmund Tullison, who is the killer, he's just standing there like ready to pounce on the next guy.
Which I mean, to me, it's just very surprising on how he took on 4 guys very like simultaneously. Like to me, it's almost like you need to plan out this type of execution, because it's like I would think it's very hard to like there's a lot of patience in order to like kill one guy, then wait till everyone else gets back, then go room by room and stuff like that. So it was kind of like a hit per se. Like it was kind of like something like that. And the thing is like, so he's like in this case, he's kind of seen as a psychopath, because of course who would want to kill a priest? And of course back then in the 40s, killing a priest or killing anybody like within that type of like social standard, no matter what the story is, no matter what the argument is known as like the worst type of thing you could do.
Like demonic or something, like something along those lines. Yeah,
of course. I guess like back then, America was more conservative, and of course that kind of ties into religion. So even if and listen, he had a very good reason for killing like the Monsignor. Not for killing everybody else, but for killing the Monsignor. Like,
get to that.
Yeah, when he explains it, I'm like, wow, like, not that I'm sympathizing with him, not that I think that people should be out here killing priests, but at the same time, like,
yeah,
it's crazy. Yeah, so for those who didn't see the episode, the reason he ends up killing the head Monsignor, so he wasn't there for the other priests. I guess the other priest just got in the way. He got angry and stuff like that.
He pretty much was just like waiting for that one guy, and I guess like the other people were just in his way.
They were just wrong place one time. But like the reason the guy wanted to kill the head Monsignor was because apparently that the Monsignor is his father. Now apparently the Monsignor, obviously had sex with his mother, which of course you can't do that if you're a priest, and of course he's been a priest I guess for that long, for the most part. And apparently according to him, she was sent to a whorehouse and died from like I guess from morphine. Yeah, morphine, which is like pretty much like heroin or something like that. So
yeah,
I guess like he found out, tracked him down, and everything like that. So I mean, from that case, you could understand why this person would be in a mental state to wanna at least seek out revenge, even though it is a priest. Now, unfortunately, it's a priest, and people aren't gonna want to care, especially like back then. From cultural standards, people aren't gonna care what happened. All they know is that a priest was slaughtered by this one guy, and that's like obviously you would never think about doing that. So it's a very interesting case, and it's also a very interesting aspect on how the show kind of portrays the priests. Because usually, I guess in society,
you look at the priest at first as like
innocent, holy,
who's preaching religion and stuff like that, and then when you find out this like information that it was two children out of wedlock, and like she supposedly in quotes consented to what they were doing. It's like. No, it totally changes your perspective on him immediately and throws him being a priest out the window, and like you think of him as a totally different person.
Yeah, I think also what's cool, there's a lot of overshadowing within that moment, because the first priest who gets killed, the reason he stays home, mind you, and doesn't go to the movies with everybody else, wasn't because he wasn't feeling well or because it was raining and stuff like that. It was because he wanted to masturbate. And he wanted some privacy time. Yeah. So. And that was like one of the first instances of like the what the hell moment, like that kind of surprising moment. Like the Vaseline, the camera shows the Vaseline.
Yep.
Shows the Playboy magazine. He says, "What's up, girls?" And then like the scene changes to him knocking on the door, and him like his back is turned to the camera. You could tell he's trying to masturbate, but then he has to knock on the door, which inevitably ends up being the killer. But it's just kind of like those words are like a little cringy, because you would never associate, I guess, priests to having those type of sexual desires, even though I guess nowadays within these past 10 years or 5 years there's been more press focus on the press on priests that have sexual encounters and that have sexual assault types of things. So I guess exactly. So I think like this type of plot is perfect for nowadays, because this storyline, this plot wouldn't have gotten any airtime 20 years ago.
Oh no.
30 years ago, 40 years ago, no, canceled, out the building, nothing. But I think nowadays, I think we do need to come to terms with the fact that, there are these higher up people, and there are, these higher end, individuals that do horrible things and have been doing horrible things for a very long time. And I'm not sure if this story is do you know if it's based on a true story or not?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? Okay, which would be crazy if it was, but
based off the novel. But I'm not sure if the novel is taken from anything.
Okay,
like any real stories or any accounts.
Well, I'm sure the whole idea of having a priest who had children out of wedlock, I'm sure that's happened.
It's not impossible.
Yeah, I'm saying let's not act like that's never happened before in the history of the church, whether it's in the States or in any other country and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm positive it's happened. I'm sure priests have gotten killed for shady things on the download that they thought that they would never get caught over, whether it's in the States or somewhere else. So I'm sure
shady business deals.
Yeah. So this type of story, while it might be fiction or it might not be, it's probably on events or plus on situations that probably have transpired or have happened. I don't know why my light's acting like that, but anyway. But yeah, I mean, listen, first 7 minutes, incredible, amazing. Yeah. I'm just like, the only question I have is that obviously, I was gonna ask how he got caught, but like, So there's 4 priests in total. 3 of them die,
Yeah, they
including the
don't
head
show how he
Monsignor.
got- Oh yeah, no, the one.
The
guy
other
was-
one is under the bed watching the head
Yeah,
the Monsignor, like he's pretty much watching him, like, you know, be tortured, you know, stabbed. They don't show the guy getting tortured or stabbed, but you hear him like gasping and stuff like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you see the priest that was hiding, like his hand over his mouth, you know, just absolutely shocked. So I guess that's how he got caught. But crazy. I mean,
they don't really show
yeah.
how he got caught. They just kind of, so after that first 7 minutes, it cuts, and then it just starts showing absolutely beautiful
California scenery, yeah,
of California's cliffs, and it's like Pacific Coast Highway. I looked up where Lucia is, and it's like an hour and a half, 2 hours ish north from LA. Kind of, it's on the coast.
Okay,
And
which is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy that it's a real place, but
yeah, it's also crazy that like on the sign that says "Welcome to Lucia," it said like population 950 something.
yeah.
So that's already like a very small city. Not even that's, you can't even, I wouldn't even call it a city
That
even
would be
nowadays.
like rural
That's
town.
like a town. Yeah. So the fact that it's that's an hour away from LA is pretty crazy, because first of all, we're not talking about like California back like in the 1800s. Or like, you know, like a long time ago. Yeah, we're talking about California back, you know, like 80, yeah, like close to 80, 70 something years ago. So, you know, of course, when like cities were built already, everything was kind of like not too different. So, and I also find it very fitting that like, of course, like the mental hospital is in Lucia, which is a place that's population under 1,000 people, kind of like on the outskirts. To me, it would kind of make sense that like a psychiatric hospital would be like somewhere like that.
I lied. It's 5 hours away from LA.
Oh, 5 hours? Okay. Nah, but we'll still California. Yeah,
but still, but yeah, it's right. It's actually closer to San Francisco, so it's probably like an hour.
So
and
still,
a half down,
yeah. All right, so San Francisco's still popping
And
city and everything. So same thing applies.
Thinking about that now, and especially where California was booming with film and TV and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
During the 1940s, like it's like what? So it just follows the cliffs around, and it is showing just a beautiful landscape, and then it just goes straight to a gas station to where these two people are making out, and it focuses on them, and then it kind of pans the camera back to this green car, and it zooms in, and that's where our first sight of Mildred Ratched is, where she's sitting in a mint green 1946 Ford Super Deluxe, which pretty much tells us the time period. It's 1946, and everything around there is 1940s. And
yeah, and it's a nice car too, by the way.
Yeah, it's a
super beautiful car.
Like,
yeah,
4 doors, huge, and it actually, when it first came out, it went for $2,500.
Which
that's how much it cost.
Now, which back then that was a decent amount of money.
Yeah, for, like inflation, definitely.
Yeah.
Like how much it would be cost now.
Yeah.
But so they show the gas station, and they have like gas station attendants and uniforms and everything, and like the music is playing.
Oh yeah, completely different time, which is nuts.
Yeah, it's like it goes from like murders to just like, oh wow, look at this nice place.
Yeah.
And then you finally meet Mildred Ratched, and that's where you meet Mildred Ratched, who's played by Sarah Paulson, who is most known for like her characters in American Horror Story, and she's been in American Horror Story for like every season except for the most recent one that came out.
I was also gonna say she was in the O.J. Simpson biopic.
Yeah, she was. Yeah,
she
was
played
in the O.J. Simpson thing on HBO.
She played Marsha Clark, which is one of the head defense attorney. Oh no, the Fed one of the prosecutors on the O.J. Simpson case, and she did an amazing job within that series. Like I gave her a lot of credit. Like not only she looks a lot like the actual Marsha Clark, but the way she just portrayed the lawyer side, the personal side, and everything that went with that case is incredible. So I was actually really excited to find out that she was in that she was one of the lead actresses in this series.
Yeah, I actually just found out that she was filming the O.J. Simpson and filming American Horror Story at the same time, and she was playing Marsha, whatever her last name is,
Marsha
and
Clark.
She was playing a crackhead in American Horror Story. So for her to be switching between like those two characters, it's like wow, it's really incredible.
That's
I just found that
that's
like
amazing.
yesterday. They were like, oh yeah, she was filming these at the same
Yeah,
time.
nah, I think with acting too is that it's such a grind all the time. So for her to be doing both, like if one day she has to be a lawyer, a lawyer in one of the biggest celebrity cases in this country's history, and then go to like a fictional world where she has to be like in a demented state, horror story type of state. Absolutely incredible. It just shows how talented she is.
It is incredible. And you see it in the first 5 seconds of when you meet her, because you can tell Mildred's character right away. She's very she seems very pretentious at first. Like, she's like,
very pretentious.
Fill up my gas and I gotta go. The guy who's filling her gas is like focusing on the two people that are making out, and he forgot to give her paper, and she's like, I'm pretty sure I asked you for my paper. And
yeah.
Like, oh yeah. And he gives it to her, and then he asks her for directions, and she asks him for directions, and then he kind of gives it to her, and then realizes that she's going to Lucia, which is where
the hospital
bringing
is at.
The priest killer, Edmund Tullison, to stay at this mental hospital before they can see if he's fit to stand trial. And the gas station attendant is like, oh, you're going there? Like, what are you, a journalist or something like that? And she responds with, you should bathe more often. Your fingernails are filthy. And then
that was the funniest thing.
And like that pretty much just shows you, like, right off the bat how she cares about how she looks, because you could see in her thing she's wearing like a pea coat with a hat and like a little bow.
Oh no, she's super fashionable, super fly,
super put together, and you could see that she's very like OCD about it. And if she could notice the dirt under his fingernails by him just filling up her gas, then she's like impeccable to what she's associating herself with and doing.
Yeah, no, her character seems very bold, and it's crazy because like her other character, well, at least how her other character for Marsha Clark was in the O.J. Simpson story, it wasn't. I see some similarities because Marsha Clark, she plays a very, again, put together, takes no shit from anybody, focused type of mentality. So for me, it's kind of cool that she kind of like took not the same exact game plan, mind you, because they're both completely different characters and completely different universes and storylines, but she took the same approach. Yeah, she took that attitude approach as like focus, no bullshit, all bullshit aside, type of like aspects, and put into that character, which is amazing. And for me, also I was also very surprised on how focused she was, because from the minute she's getting gas, and this is the first time that the audience sees her within a whole show, she seems focused and determined for something from the jump, which I think is very important, because it's at the end of the episode you understand why she's so focused and all of that. And so and again, like with the fashion, she has a couple of looks throughout the certain scenes. So at first, like she's dressed
you could see that she's obviously getting like up to date fashion, because they do a little like montage scene of her going to the mall. Yeah. And she literally steals the clothes right off of the mannequin. Like she steals them right off the mannequin in the dressing room, and then you see the next scene of her wearing the same clothes. And it's like, oh, she's wearing the clothes that were just on the mannequin in the store. What? So she's clearly up to date with fashion. She's up to date with what's going on, even though she may have not have purchased it herself.
Right.
She still knows what's in style.
Right. So she stole it?
Yeah.
I didn't repeat that part. Okay.
The orange, right after she drives away and she goes to the motel, which they show the motel in this beautiful, like on the cliff, right on the ocean, this blue little like bungalows that kind of just like line up next to each other. They show her getting ready to go to her quote unquote interview with Dr. Hanover, and when she's getting ready, she's like putting what's it called, Nair on her face, and like the violins start playing, and it cuts to her in the mall, and she's just looking at this mannequin with this orange, like burnt orange, mustard kind of yellow colored dress / peacoat hat combo, I would say. And then literally they show it, and then the next they cut to her in the dressing room shoving something in her bag.
Oh yeah, I remember that scene. Yeah.
Definitely. And the next thing is just her wearing it, and it's like, oh, she just stole that.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Yeah, no. So I think costume design in this show is amazing. Simply because too,
Yeah,
like everything details from like gas station attendant to what he was wearing to
exactly.
to
He had
what the
that
fashion
uniform
was, but
on.
yeah, to what the fashion was back then. And I guess like back in the 40s, like big bright colors were was kind of popular. We see what the
Yeah,
Ford she's driving. She's driving like a turquoise
m-
colored
yeah,
car.
mint
No one else
green.
does that anymore, unless it's no one really does like those bright big colors like that
Yeah, unless
anymore.
people like wrap your cars and stuff like that. But like they don't normally have like colors where you can pick them right off the line.
Yeah, exactly.
Where like that's not a custom color. Like that's literally a color that she picked out from
From the
wherever she bought it,
from the
or
dealership or whatever.
maybe she stole it.
Maybe
We
she
don't
did
know.
steal it. Yeah, because
Maybe she
as a
stole
matter of
it.
fact, she stole her clothing. So you know what? Yeah,
Yeah.
like maybe she stole the
So
car
then, and
clothing.
then
Though.
we get into her finally going to the mental hospital in Lucia, to where she says she got a letter for an interview with Dr. Hanover, and the head nurse comes up and she's like, "Where'd you get this letter from?" And she's like, "Dr. Hanover sent it." And the nurse says, "That's impossible because that's not Dr. Hanover's signature, and Dr. Hanover never sent that letter, nor did I, because I'm the only one in his office."
Yeah,
So she pretty much forged the letter. It faked an interview, faked her coming there. So it's like, wait a second. You can't tell if she's like, how authentic is she? What is she saying that's true, and what is she saying that's not true?
yeah. Now, there's a lot of confusion building up to that moment because I was thinking, okay, on one hand, I kind of do believe her because what is she doing there in the first place? I thought the whole reason of her going to Lucia was to do something. You know, at first I thought she was a journalist. I thought she wanted to, get like a conversation or an interview with Dr. Hanover, but she wanted to do it at a different approach because you do see members of the press and the media outside
Oh yeah,
of
at the
the
motel.
mental at the motel and everything. They're kind of like they're not so undercover about it. So I wasn't sure if she wanted to go a different approach and like go like the undercover, like be a nurse and just like find out stuff about the story and then
Yeah,
report
like
it.
a Nelly Bly situation.
Yeah, exactly. Which in that case I was like, oh wow, that's actually really smart. But then as it kept on going, for some reason, I don't know. I was just like, I don't know, like she might be a journalist, but
And then you're like, wait, is she in
yeah,
there?
yeah, I
And
don't
then
know,
when
but yeah,
she finally does get the interview with Dr. Hanover, and she's explaining all her nursing expertise and where she's been and what she's done, I'm like questioning. I'm like, is that real? Like,
yeah,
did she
because
actually?
because technically, like, who's gonna know?
Like because she
Yeah.
forged the letter. She could have
Yeah.
forged all this other document.
That might have
she
been
has.
that's the easy thing. That's the easy thing to lie about. Because I guess even like because even right now, if I go to a random person and say, hey, listen, I was in I know how to do what was she saying, like breathing therapy, shock this, and all these accolades.
Exactly. Yeah.
Realistically, if you're a person who who doesn't know how to verify that information, you kind of have to sit there and say, okay, like maybe not.
Yeah. I just saw today that somebody said that you can go to this. I forget. It's like a workout store. Say that you're a gym trainer, and then get 25% off by showing them a Excel sheet that you made yourself that just shows a work schedule, like a fake Excel sheet.
That's incredible.
It's happening today.
That's insane.
Like,
Yeah. No, that's amazing. Yeah, but I mean, yeah. So that character to me was amazing just because, again, shifty. The audience, we don't know what her intentions are. We may know that she's sneaky, that she's straight to the point, and that she's on a mission. We know for a fact that she's on a mission. She's doing something, crazy and all
Yeah.
that. But we don't know why she's
there
doing
for a
it.
reason.
Yeah,
Yeah, we don't know why.
yeah. So I think like Dr. Hanover's character was interesting too because at first you don't see him like in the facility because like the head nurse head nurse, her name is Basket. She said that he was out in like a meeting somewhere.
Nurse Bucket. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Bucket. Yeah, my bad. But so he ends up like meeting with the governor of California because I guess like he wanted more funds for his
Well, at first he
for the
doesn't
facility.
even meet with him. He's in the hallway
Yeah.
of
Oh
like
yeah,
I guess
true.
the governor's building,
Yeah.
and he's waiting for a meeting, and then the governor's secretary just opens the door and says, can't meet right now, maybe next month," and then just slams the door,
Yeah.
complete silence, and then it just cuts to him drinking in a bar of sadness. But then he sees the governor sitting at a table to eat, to which he goes over and starts talking to the governor while he's trying to eat,
Yeah.
when he was supposed to meet him that day. It just shows how like rude the governor is. And then as you see like the governor come into the restaurant and you see how Rudy is and stuff like that. Like I was like, today people would record that, tweet it in a minute, and it would go viral in a second. Everyone would know how that governor was acting or how they would be behind the scenes, but you don't have that in 1946.
Yeah, no, I mean it's definitely very interesting you brought that up, because I think when it comes to movies like this, are very nostalgic, or at least have a time frame that's more than 50 years beyond like or the era that we're currently in. It's very interesting to think about stuff like that, because I guarantee a lot of people that were born like maybe like, well, the 40s was a long time ago, so let's say like the 50s or 60s, 70s.
Mm-hmm.
They may have looked at like a time like that and been maybe not more used to it because they didn't grow up in that era, but like
they were closer to it. Yeah.
Like you said, like the era where like governors, politicians, and these famous people, or like people within that type of power, could go to restaurants and bars, you know, that easily, and there's no phones or cameras out and stuff like that. It's interesting. And because and it kind of shows that back then, you know, we think that politicians and these big named people with big occupations, that they kind of do whatever they want. Imagine back then if there was no documentation of doing whatever you want. Imagine if that same thing would have happened nowadays, where like the director of a hospital of any kinds,
like, are you
would have been like inquiring for a meeting for funding for the hospital for patients, and the governor would have kept, you know, delaying it for months and months after that. All it takes, let's say Hatch was born in that situation happening today, that it just takes Hatch to all it takes just for him to, you know, go on Twitter or go on like Instagram or like talk to a newspaper, which I'm not sure why he didn't do that, but you know, who knows? But like, the governor would have been blasted.
No, I know exactly why he didn't do that. I know exactly why he didn't do that, because you find out that while he's sitting at the bar, there's some guy staring at him, like watching him. So is Dr. Hanover's being followed by somebody? So it's like, wait, what? It's like, it makes you think more about Dr. Hanover's character too, that who he is and where he came from.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
Because like, why is some suspicious guy following him as the violin weir in the background?
Yeah, man, absolutely. So let's see what else we could kind of talk about. Rest of the series, rest of the episode, I found it very interesting, because a lot of implements such as like, you know, camera angles and lighting. Yeah, I actually want to talk about lighting real quick. So as the series progresses to a certain extent, and of course, you know, she ends up finessing a job as a nurse. We don't know how that happens. I mean, we do know how it happens. Like, it's just kind of like her finessing her way in, and like,
she literally just manipulates herself into getting it.
Yeah, so she gets the job, right? So we don't even know if she's an actual nurse or something like that. Then, but like, whenever there's scenes of her walking through the hallways, you just see the whole screen go to like a turquoise blue, the same color as her car, by the way, which I found very interesting. And that happens 3 times in a pilot. Every time that happens, where there's a turquoise green within the scenes, something big always happens, or something very important happens. So I think the first one, if I'm not mistaken, is she walks in on another nurse having an affair with somebody else.
Yeah, she hears banging from the lobby while she's waiting for Dr. Hanover, and she goes in and she sees a nurse having relations with, I'm not sure if it's like, you can't really tell if it's a patient or if it's like an orderly.
I think it's a worker. Because he was in uniform. The patients weren't in uniform. Yeah.
So he sees her, and as she sees them having relations like in the room of the mental hospital, and then she walks out. But as she walks out, you don't even see her. She swipes that nurse's wallet, finds out her name, her address, where she lives, goes straight to her house after, then sees her husband, tells her husband like, oh, hey, what's up? Tell your wife to call me. And then when the wife calls her, they agree to meet at a bar. And that's where Mildred tells her that you better quit or else I'm ruining your marriage.
Which is insane.
It's how manipulative she is, and how she gets what she wants is insane. And how things also fall into place for her.
Perfectly.
Like,
yeah.
things just happen to where like the governor, Dr. Hanover, eventually the governor secretary convinced him to like do funding because she was like, oh, this might look good for your campaign. And the next day, Mildred sent the doctor like a basket of flowers or fruit or something. And he then thinks that she had something to do with him getting the funding.
Yeah.
So even though she had nothing to do with it, her like best wishes basket, he's like, whoa, what did she do to do this? Even though she had nothing to do with it, it's like, what? Things just work out for her.
Yeah, no, definitely. Definitely incredible. Her whole game plan, which obviously I think she went there with a game plan, but she had to adjust to certain things and certain aspects. But the fact that she tracked down this woman's address, the fact that she even got this much like bad information on her to kind of blackmail her,
yeah, exactly,
kind of easily is
so
crazy.
Much information on her that she literally got her to move out of the town and like quit her job.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, which is crazy. So
like,
yeah,
and that scene, like I think that scene is really good because like it's just Mildred sitting alone at a booth, and then you see the nurse. It's like a blonde-haired, blue-eyed nurse come in, and all you hear is like faint jazz music playing on the background of the radio.
Yeah.
And like the people are playing pool, and you just hear like the pool balls hitting back and forth, and then the music and everything just kind of gets slowly quieter as like you focus in on Mildred and the nurse that's like she's talking to, but you still hear like the pool balls hitting. So it's like you're still in that bar environment. You're not just kind of there.
Exactly.
They're still in public to where they still have to kind of watch what they're saying, and you see like the nurse look around a couple of times like, oh, this is kind of like suspicious, etc. But yeah, that was pretty good, interesting scene. And then I think after that, that's when she gets the job. She finally gets into the position because there's no one to work there. She just decides to put herself in there. Is when the governor arrives. So she works. The first day she works is the first day the governor arrives to the mental hospital. Like everything she does is so.
How coincidental is that? Honestly, like that.
Like everything.
Crazy, yeah. It's also crazy too because it's also nuts that within the acting in itself, obviously the governor brushes off Dr. Hanover so many times, but then when it comes to like a photo op, when it comes to like the drama of the killer moving into the facility, now that's when he cares, and that's when he wants the pictures and everything. That's when he's gonna give him like a whole like $75,000 grant and everything. So I don't know, like so to me it's almost like you see a lot of evil within the first pilot, and it has nothing to do necessarily with the killer, because usually usually the way like these type of like crime thrillers work, there's one evil person, which in this case, or which in many other cases, is the serial killer, because it's the serial killer. Because serial killers, as we know, take advantage of innocent people and kill the person, and they do it over and over and over. They do it multiple times, and they're known as monsters per se. But what I learned from this first pilot is like, okay, like yeah, like there's this one villain, I guess, which is the serial killer, and within his society, which is America in the 1940s, he's known as the villain, because who would possibly want to kill a bunch of priests? But then as the story goes on, you start to figure out that there are more villains, and there are more like bad people that aren't being put into kind of like in their place. One of them being, for example, like the governor. For example, like why does it take one guy to kill 4 priests and him, go to a mental hospital for you to finally care about the specific mental hospital when you could have cared about it 5 months before that when he first asked you for a meeting?
The whole thing of it was that the secretary saw it as something good for the governor's
publicity.
So
exactly.
The only reason why he's helping is because it's going to help him get reelected.
Yeah,
he has no other interest in the mental hospital. Like there would be no funding going towards it if it wasn't for the possibility of him being reelected.
Yeah, and again, like I think, like ways to like the whole political plan with that was to make it seem like he was more progressive, which I think, which surprises me personally. Well, none of this surprises me, but like the thing is like even nowadays, who do we, as like college students, as younger people, we look at the person who's more progressive? So for me, it's kind of like not nostalgia percent or like, oh, that's exactly what's going on today, because of course today's a whole different type of campaign.
It's like where it started in a way, like kind of.
Yeah, where it's where it starts, and it's kind of like, okay, like nobody wants to be the old governor politician, even though that's what that governor might be. He might always be that older minded politician of like not really caring about things, just staying in power. But if we can perceive as being quote unquote progressive to an audience or to most of the country, we can secure the vote and we can secure more power for the state per se. So for me, that's, and listen, I think a lot of people would say, wow, that's worse than killing 4 priests and stuff like that, because at the end of the day, like the head Monsignor, he did something wrong, justice was delivered onto him. He had repented for his sins, but he didn't really repent. This is like karma, whatever you want to call it. But then this governor on the other hand, who's using his power for irresponsible acts, isn't being, arrested or anything like that. Like,
yeah, nothing, because no one sees it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like villainous types of characters that you see, and it becomes more complicated than just one guy killing a priest, which is kind of like the watered down, dumbed down like theory and story that all these newspapers and media outlets are spreading towards the country. Now, of course, it was wrong for him to kill the other priests as well. I'm not saying like that's a good thing to do and all that. And the only person who deserved justice per se, or what he had coming for him, was the head Monsignor. But it's kind of like behind the scenes, like why, it's kind of like the why factor, and you wonder to yourself too, why does this guy, obviously, why is this guy kind of like okay with doing this, and why is this guy okay with like like the repercussions, and why is he mentally all messed up and all of that, and you kind of like try to figure out more about the killer in itself, which is nuts.
Yeah, but back to like the media and stuff like that, like you see as soon as the governor arrives, like the police sirens he has a police escort, and all of the journalists that are there are immediately snapping shots and grabbing photos.
Yeah, no, it's a circus. It's a show.
And I loved like the sounds of the cameras too every time.
Oh yeah, no, incredible. Yeah.
That was like one of my favorite. It was like that, just like that sound of the shutter. Like you heard the camera capture the photo. Like you literally heard it happen. Yeah, no, sound
in this series is amazing.
And seeing like the huge clunky cameras with like those big metal like flashes,
and the flashes and everything. Yeah, them things must have been like 50 pounds or something crazy.
Yeah, like the dramaturgy, which is like getting everything correctly with time period, the lighting, the effects, and everything. I think it was really on point. Like I really didn't notice anything that was like how in Game of Thrones, how someone left a Starbucks cup on the counter. Like I didn't notice anything.
I heard about that.
You know what I'm saying? Like, like there's no Starbucks in medieval times.
Right. Like, that's just a big mess up.
I looked around and there's nothing really in the show that is like not of the right time period or doesn't. Yeah, it's pretty. Everything is pretty much right time period. All slang is all pretty much written how. It's
exactly. Yeah, the way they communicate to each other is very very 1940ish. Yeah.
Very 1940ish, and then I think that you even see more evilness when we get into Ratched finally like working at the hospital, because she slips in the wrong medication to a priest who was working. I don't know. Of course, I don't know if that's supposed to be like maybe some sort of like, oh, he's a priest, she's doing it to the priest, or just because the priest had some sort of medical condition, if he took this drug, he would reaction. But priest had a reaction. She pretty much
saved him.
In front of everyone.
But like she kind of like saved him. Oh wait, he died?
No, he almost died.
Okay,
he almost dies in front of everyone. But the governor thinks that she saved his life, so she gets her picture taken and put in the newspaper.
Yeah.
And that just pretty much just further proves how much everything just falls into her place, because the Dr. Hanover refuses to get a picture taken, and the governor's like, fine, I'll take a picture with her. Yeah. And she doesn't even technically work there yet. Like literally after the photo is taken, Nurse Bucket, who's the head nurse, says to Dr. Hanover and says, well, I guess she works here now, because she literally just came in because she knew that other nurse wasn't going to be there, because she told her she better not be there.
Right.
So it's like crazy how everything goes.
It's
But once she's finally
incredible,
working there and stuff, she starts talking to that guy, Mr. Salvatore.
Yeah. Oh,
Saw
that scene was. That's when I knew she was a psycho, like an actual
Yeah.
psychopath. That's when I knew I was like, okay, there's something
At
mentally
first, yeah.
wrong with this lady, like for real. Because it's one thing to be like manipulative to the point where you could land yourself a job at a hospital. Yeah, it's one thing to do that. That's being a psychopath is like, well, being manipulative. That's like stage 1 of being a psychopath.
Yeah.
Because you gotta
But to be manipulative at the point to where she gets someone to pretty much commit suicide is like, what?
The way so the scene we're talking about is like there's this patient, his name is Mr. Salvatore, and she comes up to him
really know
as a
why
nurse.
He's there. You don't really know why he's
Yeah,
in
we
the
don't.
hospital. You don't really know, but he's just there and he can't see his family.
Yeah, right. He can't see his family. He has a condition of some sorts because you can see in his eyes, which again goes to the acting of this whole show.
Yeah, he's
incredible.
Kind of like catonic state to where he's like emotionless and like mute in a way, but we don't really know what's wrong with him.
Yeah, but then she pretty much just tells him like, hey, listen, they're gonna tell you that you can see your family, blah blah, but like, I know exactly how you feel. You will never see your family. I just want to let you know.
Yeah,
I don't want you to suffer the way that I don't want you to suffer the way that I'm suffering. What's it called? The doctor has like envelope opener, which is kind of like a knife, pretty much. Do you want me to show you where it's at? Knowing that this guy is like already a mental wreck and that he's probably suicidal because he's crying now and everything. So, but the way this is
at first she kind of makes it seem like there's hope. Like she's telling him about a story about how her mother was there, and then all of a sudden she's like, nah, her mother left her on the doorstep, and then she was left in an orphanage to where she thought she would see her mother again, but she's never going to see her again, and they're doing the same thing to you now. And he's like, what? And the complete shock of that, she's like, you're never leaving. You're never going to leave this place. And all he wants to do is leave and see his brother again, and unfortunately, he gets the news that his brother passed away. So he really has nothing else to want because that's all he wanted to do is see his brother.
Yeah.
So she tells him, there's a letter opener on the desk. I can show you. And she brings him there. And when she brings him there, she leaves him there alone. And as she leaves there, she runs into Dr. Hanover, who discovered the medication, the medication seal was broken on the blood pressure reducer medication that she gave to the priest who collapsed and almost died. Yeah. So he knows that she did it.
Yeah. It was crazy that he was catching on. I was like, damn, all right, here we go. She's going to get caught right here.
It was like right about here. And then all of a sudden, there's just a bang. And he's like, who's in my office? And she's like, what are you talking about? I don't know what's wrong with you. You're crazy. So she totally
exactly.
The situation. He totally forgot what he was talking to her about. And then they go into the office and discover that Mr. Salvatore has split his throat and is literally dead on the floor of his office, and he doesn't know what to do. So because the governor, the press, everyone is there at the time, like this is happening, like you forget that this is like happening at that time. Like I forgot that the governor was there.
Yeah, and then it's like so much. That's the thing, like with the show, so much things happening at the same time. You kind of forget that this is a very hectic time right now. That usually, like, you know, like a lot of people can't like function under these hectic times. Like for example, like normal person who was trying to like do the same exact thing that she was doing would have maybe waited till the governor left. Would have maybe waited till like, you know, things were a little more in the clear. No, she does this all as cameras, reporters are everywhere. It's nuts, but it falls into place.
Dr. Hanover is just completely in shock, and he just doesn't know what to do. So Nurse Ratchet, I shouldn't even call her Nurse Ratchet. I should call her Ratchet right now. She pretty much is like, don't worry, I'll clean it up. And he pretty much just agrees with it, where I was just like, what?
Yeah, I was like, but things like she like manipulates him in a sense because he says, listen, there's reporters here. You gotta put on a good face. I'll clean this up, take care of it, like nothing happened. And at the same time too, like, again, with Dr. Hanover, I kind of understand like that decision towards a certain extent, because in a sense it's like he doesn't know for a fact that it was her who did it. Well, he doesn't know for a fact that it it was her who ended up drugging the priest by, whatever, all of that, being negligent. He doesn't know for a fact. He just finds it he's putting two and two together. But then the sudden shock of, you see one of your patients that has committed suicide, which could be the end, which he's right. It could have been the end of his practice and everything. State would have shut it down. Would have been really bad. Reporters would have been the worst thing in the world, right?
Like, how did the patient get there? Yeah.
Yeah. So, and she plays him honestly. She says, listen, she plays the, I'm on your side. Let's try to clean this up. You have to face reporters and stuff like that. Go and do it. He does. And she cleans up everything, which is crazy, because usually like to clean up blood and everything, like you have to like know what you're doing. Like a rookie wouldn't be able to just like a little bit of blood marks here and there. Yeah, like she cremates him too. She puts him in like the I don't know if it's like
she cremates him. Yeah, she cremates probably everything to where she knows how to get rid of the evidence. Like who would know? Who would know? No, I gotta cremate this. Like we gotta
exactly. And it's like, and now this guy just disappeared. Like no one's gonna ask for him. Nothing. So it's like he literally just disappeared.
No one's gonna ask for him. The only people who are gonna ask for him is his family, who doesn't want him to leave there. So it's like
perfect setup, honestly.
Yeah, exactly. Another perfect example of things just.
And it distracts Hanover from everything that's going on, because now he's trying to save face for the whole facility, and that's his main focus and priority.
Yep. Forgot about the drugs and forgot about the priest collapsing.
Exactly.
And now I was just thinking about this guy who killed himself in his office. So then, after that, we finally get to Edmund Tullison's arrival, which is like
the best part. I think is the best part.
This is right after she cremates the body.
Yeah.
Right after she cremates the body, the fire goes up, and then it cuts to like police sirens in the nighttime driving on the highway. And at first I was like, oh my god, did they like find her? Like, did they find out?
me too. I was like, oh, she's gonna jail. That's crazy. Yeah,
she's gonna come get her, because then they show her standing in the motel parking lot, and then you see like one police car go by, and then you see this big black box truck drive by, and then another police car, and it's obviously like escorting something, and it takes to the mental institution where like the huge metal gates start creaking open and everything, and then they open the back of it, and then chains, huge chains too, like waist,
like wrist, shackles,
ankles, shackles, complete. They take them off these shackles down. You hear everything just like crunching, like all the chains.
Yeah,
and then like that's the first time you see Edmund.
After the fact, like as a prisoner, after the fact that he killed everybody.
You finally see his face after seeing him for like the past hour or whatever, and then they put him in the basement wine cellar, which was converted into a maximum security prison, which is all celled up and jailed. And then that's where we see Ratch walked in. Mildred walks in, and she walks up to the cell, and she looks at Edmund and just says, like, Edmund. And that's where we find out that they're brother and sister.
Boom. That was a crazy that's me out. My jaw dropped to the floor. I was like, what? No way. I knew, like, I didn't say I knew it, but I knew there was something. I was like, because for her to just, like, come in and do all of this for no reason, or just to get a job simply, is just crazy. Like, who would do that? But now, like, everything comes full circle. Everything comes full circle. Now
this is the reason why she's doing it, is because her brother is facing death row. He's facing the death penalty, and if he is not fit to stand trial, then he can live his life in the mental institution. Well, presumably live his life in the mental institution, but he'll still be alive. He won't be put on death. So she's pretty much doing everything she can to make him not fit to stand trial and save his life, and then they could be, I guess, ultimately together, since they haven't been together since they were children.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that scene to me is a perfect ending for a pilot, because in a sense it everything comes full circle. Now we understand exactly why everything's kind of happening the way it's happening, and it puts more blame on the priest, because clearly now, like, because now clearly, like, the priest, like, had 2 kids with their mother,
Yeah, they were
which
twins, or I guess they're twins if they're the same age, or 1 and 1.
or like we don't know what the situation is, but either way, like, their mother ended up.
We don't know the ages.
Yeah, well, their mother ended up in a whorehouse per se and died. So now there's this I think this whole series as well is really cool, because now it's kind of like you're kind of rooting for not the bad guy per se, but you're rooting. But it's the first time we're rooting for a serial killer.
Like,
yeah,
I'm rooting for them to be together.
We're rooting for them to escape the mental hospital and leave, because clearly we're seeing that, okay, yeah, like, according to the press and according to the media and according to what is being reported and everything, this guy's the bad guy because he killed 4 priests. Which, once you hear that, you're like, yes, you automatically make the jurisdiction of, okay, this guy needs to go to jail the rest of his life.
Crazy murder.
All that. But it gets more complicated, because now nobody except them 2 knows that the Monsignor was had them out of wedlock, and because of that, she was sent to a whorehouse, and then she died. All that stuff, like, that's horrible. And then, of course, that does, like, play a big role into mental health and psychiatric health within the trial, if that information is brought up per se, because then it kind of like it does sympathize with him, instead of it just being this guy's a clergy killer, crazy guy. That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, so I think it's very interesting to see the kind of like what everyone's motive is within the show. Obviously, for Ratched, it's to finesse everybody and to pretty much, you know, go against the system and help her brother out. And I don't know if she wants to break him out or help him exactly, but I'm assuming that she wants to help him break out, because as of right now, it doesn't look like it's a good chance for him to not get the death penalty.
Yeah, I guess right now it's pretty much just keeping him alive.
Right, keeping him alive. Okay.
Not letting him on the death penalty, like keeping him where he's not fit to stand trial and he has to serve the rest of his sentence or life
at that hospital, where she would at least have like a little more control over. Yeah. So.
And she'll be with him every day.
Yeah. So to a sense, it's kind of like it's a very in a sense, it's very touching, because it's kind of like no matter what your sibling does or no matter what your family member does, you're gonna want to look out for them, even if they did, you know, just kill 4 priests or whatever. Right. Yeah. But so yeah, I mean, no, this show absolutely incredible, because it goes from crazy priests being naughty, not doing what they're supposed to be doing, to now you're sympathizing with the serial killer who killed 4 priests.
Who killed them, yeah.
Yeah, to now, like, there's a mental hospital, and now you're kind of like rooting for the psychopaths to win, the narcissists and everything, and like, which is crazy. Which I think that's one of the great things about film, or like in movies in general, is that it doesn't,
especially
like,
the script, the writing.
Yeah, like the protagonist doesn't always have to be the superhero, great guy, you know, perfect being, Superman type of thing. No, like, sometimes the good guy, quote unquote, is an ass. Are people who abuse their power and really just don't know how to go about it and just are manipulators. And while the bad guys per se, there's a reason why they do the things that they do. So I think it's like, and especially like being that's in the 1940s, especially in being that it's in the 1940s too. You know, America's very conservative. Of course, it's moving post-war, so of course that whole label of being progressive and moving towards like a better future, that political setting kind of ties in with why things are going on the way they're going. But yet the most conservative thing of like, okay, this guy needs to die in prison because he killed 4 priests. Mm-hmm. That type of aspect within that culture is still like going. So these two aspects are like battling each other. And plus, like, you know, mental health wasn't taken seriously in the 40s.
Exactly.
They as after all, like the governor, when he first meets Dr. when he meets Dr. Hanover, he tells him, "Oh, you run a loony bin?" Like that's inappropriate. Like you wouldn't call, even if it's a psychiatric hospital or facility, you don't call it a loony bin. That's something that, you know, people who are uneducated or insensitive call, you know, these types of facilities. If you're a governor, you should have a little more respect towards a doctor. You know, someone who's
Especially the governor.
yeah, someone who's running a facility that's meant to help people or rehabilitate people per se. So, yeah, this show amazing. I'm gonna try to finish the rest of it. But yeah, acting superb, lighting superb, music
And
superb, everything superb.
all
honestly,
the music is original composer.
oh, interesting. Okay, do you know who composed it by any
Yeah.
chance?
No.
No. All right, now I was trying to credit somewhere, but
I-
yeah. And Netflix. Wait, this is a Netflix original series, right?
It's a Netflix original series, yes, and it's produced by Ryan Murphy.
Or, nah, Netflix always has the best produced stuff, and you can just show.
Yeah, so the only non original composer I think is the intro,
Okay.
which I just had right there. Yeah, but no, this show is great. It's absolutely stunning visuals, and I love the camera shots and all the characters, and I really love the storyline, and I can't wait to start finishing the rest of the season. And I love that Netflix, you can just binge everything.
Yeah,
You don't have to
exactly.
wait till the next episode.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna go watch it now.
Awesome. Yeah, me too, man. So yeah, anything else about the show before we log off?
No, that's it. I think it was great.
All right, awesome. So that's
no,
not bad.
no.
So that's not bad for a first episode of Not Your Average Critic. We'll catch you guys next week with who we got for next week. Do you know what movie we got for next week? I think we have Legend for next.
Legend, yeah.
Legend with Tom Hardy. Great. Great. It's a great movie about these two twins that are like, I forgot the last names exactly, but like they're a bunch. They're gangsters from
I
like
haven't
London
watched it
in the
yet.
'60s. So again, we're going back to like the old school type of like biopics and stuff like that. This time, 20 years into the future of the 1940s for when we were just talking about. But definitely can't wait to get into conversation about that.
Yeah, it sounds really interesting. I haven't seen it yet, and I can't wait to watch it. So I'm very excited about that.
All right, awesome. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. This is Not Your Average Critic, and we'll catch you guys next time. See you guys later.